Federal cases falling apart? Prosecutors at the Department of Justice have launched waves of federal cases against protesters, but an unusual number are collapsing as courts expose false testimony from officers. What does this mean for justice and civil liberties? The Guardian. DoJ cases against protesters keep collapsing as officers' lies are exposed in court. Across the U.S., a string of federal prosecutions against protesters and immigration critics is imploding in court as judges and video evidence expose key inaccuracies in officers' testimony, forcing dismissals and acquittals unusual for federal cases. The Guardian. Why this matters? When federal cases hinge on law enforcement testimony that turns out to be false or unsupported by evidence, it doesn't just affect one defendant. It raises broader questions about trust, accountability, and the justice system itself. The Guardian. Full story? Number 1. Pattern of collapsing cases. In multiple cities, including Minneapolis, Los Angeles, and Chicago, a wave of federal assault and obstruction cases brought by the Department of Justice has been dismissed or resulted in not guilty verdicts as judges scrutinize how those cases were built. Unlike typical federal prosecutions, which see high conviction rates, many are falling apart because they rely heavily on statements from the Department of Homeland Security officers, testimonies that later prove contradictory or unsupported when compared to video evidence. Number 2. Notable withdrawals and dismissals. In one Minneapolis case, prosecutors dropped charges with prejudice, meaning the government can't refile them, after newly discovered evidence directly contradicted the claims in the original complaint. Judges in several cases have specifically noted that officer accounts of assaults did not align with footage submitted in court, leading to dismissals. Number 3. Impact on defendants. Defense attorneys highlight how even unfounded federal charges can inflict long-lasting harm, from reputational damage to lost jobs and legal costs, even when cases are dropped. Number 4. Legal and constitutional concerns. Some defense lawyers argue that certain prosecutions appear to be politically motivated or overly aggressive, particularly when tied to immigration enforcement operations. Critics warn such practices could chill First Amendment rights if people fear prosecution for lawful protest activity. Number 5. Government position. The Justice Department maintains it will pursue serious charges at anyone who threatens federal agents or public safety, dismissals notwithstanding. Its official stance is that accountability for attacks on federal agents is critical as specific allegations fall apart in court. Impact significance. This trend, federal cases unraveling because of false or contradicted law enforcement testimony, could have long-term implications for how the DOJ builds cases and how Americans perceive federal prosecutorial power. Outro CTA. Are federal prosecutors overreaching, or are courts finally holding law enforcement accountable? Subscribe to One America Daily for in-depth coverage of U.S. justice and civil liberties. Question trigger question. Should courts demand stricter evidence standards for federal cases involving protesters?